Welcome back to the Group Practice Accelerator podcast, brought to you by Polaris Healthcare Partners, where we leverage decades of healthcare and business experience to drive growth in successful group practices just like yours. If you're a healthcare entrepreneur and you're interested in building, scaling, or exiting your group practice, you've found not only the industry's leading resource for business education, but a team of trusted advisors dedicated to helping you achieve and exceed your goals. In short, the team at Polaris creates clarity, confidence, and results. I'm your host, Jamie Falash, and the Group Practice Accelerator podcast is on the air. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in today because I've got a special guest joining me behind the mic, and we're going to talk about your money. That's right. Today's show is centered around financial planning and wealth management, specifically for dentists. That's what's unique about it because, of course, your careers, your growth strategies, long-term plans can look a lot different as that type of business owner in healthcare than, say, like the financial plan for an employee, consultant, or someone like me. And as you know, here at Polaris, we like to call in the experts to bring value to our listeners. And today's show is no different because with me is Matt Mulcock, managing partner at Dentist Advisors. And Matt's going to help us understand like some of the whys and hows of comprehensive financial planning and wealth management, including when you should be thinking about getting support and even some mistakes that he's seen docs make along the way. Matt, welcome to the show.
Jamie, thank you so much for having me. Hopefully, people did not turn it off when you said financial planning. So we'll see. You may have already lost everybody, but yeah, excited to be here.
Listeners, you are here. You may not leave. You're going to want to listen to
you are
this.
not allowed. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. We should have started off with like the 5 secrets to wealth. You're not going to want to miss number 3, something like
exactly.
that. Yeah.
We'll title it like that so it'll draw everybody.
There you go. Yep.
So if you wouldn't mind, Matt, just introduce yourself, give us a little background, and I'd love to hear, not only from myself to get a little more depth on this for our listeners too, how Dentist Advisors came to be.
Yeah, great question. So yeah, again, Matt Mulcock, I've been with Dentist Advisors now for over 7 years, one of the managing partners here and a senior advisor. Prior to Dentist Advisors, I was working for a group called Fidelity Investments, one of the biggest asset managers in the world, really. Was there for about 5 years before joining DA and getting into this crazy world of dentistry. Yeah, so it's interesting how DA came about. It was really a little bit of pretty incredible foresight by our founder, and then also I think a little bit of luck. Probably like most success is a combination of those. Never hurts. So yeah, Reese, our founder, about 15 years ago, he left another big firm, kind of like what I was doing, and was just disenchanted with the industry and decided to start his own independent firm. And was not interested really, or had no intention of saying, I'm going to go get into just dentistry. It happened by kind of, again, happenstance and a little bit of luck by meeting some dentists as he was working and really in his neighborhood and some personal connections, met some dentists. And what he realized pretty early on, within a couple of years of working with kind of just the general population, that his dentist clients had the most questions and had the most complex situations and just really unique situations, he realized, compared to even his other business owning clients. And so he started to kind of realize this, and over time was just thinking, man, how cool would it be? Like he's starting to realize we can go really deep. We can add a ton of value and have a really, really big impact in this one population rather than just saying like, we help everybody with money. And so he saw that years and years ago, and then about, again, 12, 13 years ago, decided to switch over, and he went all in, even in the title, Dentist Advisors. People often ask us, do you only work with dentists? And it's like, yeah, we really have dedicated everything to this of only working with dentists. So that's really how it came to be. And then ever since, Reese has kind of since stepped away from day to day about 5 years ago. And my business partner and I, Justin, and me now have been running DA for the last 5 years or so. So it's been a fun ride.
Interesting story. And I'll tell you, and I'm no exception to this, I feel like a lot of people in the world of dental, and that's pretty far reaching, end up here by accident.
Yes. I hear that a lot.
Yeah. I'm raising my hand on that one.
Yep.
That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Me too, by the way. I'm here by accident as well.
Well, and it seems to be working out. So,
Yeah,
how
it's
about
been
you?
great.
I think I'll stick around.
Yes, me too.
So, you
Agreed.
mentioned something about like some of these challenges. Like dentists are unique not only in their field of healthcare practice, as we both know, but they share some other challenges that you kind of just started to touch on. And I want to hear more about that. Can you share some of what those are
Yeah.
and maybe how you manage those for your clients? What do those challenges look like?
Yeah, great question. There's a couple of unique challenges. I think kind of at the high level, dentists are really on what we'd call this kind of final frontier of being the entreprofessional, which is actually a term coined by Reese years and years ago. This kind of crazy intersection of business owner and clinician and professional. And you don't really see this very often anymore.
Oh,
The
you're right.
MD space has been consolidated. You don't really see this anywhere where this unique position of saying, I'm the CEO of a business, but I'm also the clinician. I'm also the person running, that's chair side. And that alone presents so many challenges, not only just from the dollars and cents, practical kind of managing the day to day, but also psychologically, mentally, emotionally, of the loneliness that comes of leadership and all the challenges that come from that. But then also, again, making sure you're producing enough and generating, you are the one making all the or producing all the money to keep everyone in business. So that alone creates unique challenges that a lot of really no professional has to deal with, really, that's out there. And then if you get into like the nitty gritty stuff, the debt loads, it comes to mind early on in career, your early 30s dentist just starting out, getting your feet wet, not knowing what you're doing. And you could easily find yourself in seven figure plus in debt with
Yeah,
everything. And that
definitely.
alone brings up a ton of challenges as well. Those areas we're always focusing on and having conversations with our clients.
That figure, even just for GP, and I don't want to really take the word just lightly here. It's over $300,000, like at that 315 mark. I mean, that can be crushing if you don't manage it right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
very crushing. Yeah, I mean, you talk about there's some of them come out of undergrad with debt, then they're going into post-grad debt that can be significant, and then they wanna get into business ownership, they wanna buy a house, maybe they wanna buy their building. In the first 5, 10 years of your career, we see this all the time, multi 7 figures of total debt load. That can be psychologically, to your point, crushing and debilitating, and we see this all the time.
sure, and we actually deal with that quite a bit here with our partnerships and equity solutions.
Yeah.
Some docs that come out of school with all this debt, and most docs want to own a practice, so they wanna own a piece of the pie, and
Yes.
as an associate, that's really tough to do, so we work with owners to create equity solutions and partnerships on an earn-in basis as well
Yeah.
as buy-in, so at least it opens the door for that, but I don't wanna get too far off track here, but yes, it does produce some very unique challenges, some very unique situations when you are the moneymaker and the owner and running the business. It's far too many hats to wear
It's a
without
lot.
the huge advocate of any kind of support, the experts. Let's draw from our resources. Why would you not? Don't DIY it is really a mantra to live by.
Huge, huge.
Yeah.
Yep, agreed.
So let's get into a little bit of the financial planning, investing, retirement plans. Maybe do you want to start with comprehensive financial planning, like you advise, correct? And what does that mean?
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought this up because our space is so different than dentistry in the sense of you talk to 10 dentists, you generally know, although they all might do different dentistry. One might do bread and butter, one might do more big procedures. There's variations of the same thing, but the barrier to entry to have the DDS or DMD behind your name, like what you had to go through, right?
Definitely.
When it comes to our space, it is not the same. A lot of advisors, if not all advisors out there, especially generalist advisors, all kind of say the same thing. They all claim to do comprehensive planning. They all claim to be fiduciaries. We all make the same claims. But the problem is you talk to 10 financial advisors who all say they're financial advisors and you're going to get 10 different things, 10 different definitions.
Sure.
So this is really, really critical for people to understand, like, what does it actually mean to work with a fiduciary comprehensive financial advisor? And so one area we've already addressed is we think it makes a ton of sense to work with a specialist advisor, a group that's dedicated themselves to a profession. I just think you're going to get so much more value out of that, of someone who understands your career. They can speak your language. They have the resources and collective knowledge of all their clients. I just think it goes a long way of getting that extra value there. But when it comes to comprehensive, for us, we cover literally anything to do with your money. So anything you can think of with your money, yeah, estate planning, insurance, investing, cash flow, with your practice, account, all the things that you can imagine, we are covering. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we are. I'll give you an example. When it comes to insurance, we advise on insurance, but we're not transacting that business, right? We don't take commissions, we don't take kickbacks, but that is absolutely something that should be part of a comprehensive plan. The analogy that I use often is we act as the general contractor of our clients' lives, of their financial lives.
I like
So
that
there is
analogy.
nothing yeah, so, like, we're not gonna be the electrician and the plumber. You're still gonna need groups like Polaris. You're still gonna need consultants, attorneys. You're still gonna need those types of people in your life, but what we're trying to solve for dentists is having a go-to person that can help connect all the dots. That's really what we're trying to do.
That makes sense. And truly, like any expert that you employ, they should help you make more money or keep
Yeah,
more, right?
or keep
You
more.
or keep more. Yeah,
Yep,
depending on the case.
yep.
And so my mind kind of automatically goes to the different stages of life. I've got a new grad, I've got somebody who's been in practice 5 to 10 years, maybe they're an associate, maybe they're an owner. So first of all, how do you manage all those different stages of career and when should, I'm going to use the word should here. I don't like should on people, but when should dentists and owners be thinking about financial planning and this whole package?
Yeah, great question. So, I think the first thing to think of, or the first thing I'd say is a misnomer, kind of misconception in our industry is people are seeking or often thinking, because our industries put this out there, that you need like a financial plan. It's a thing. It's like this, you need this plan. That to us is not crazy valuable. I think it's again bit of misconception. To us, it's engaging in a process, the actual financial planning process. It's an active thing. It's an ongoing process. So
Life document. It has to evolve over time in my mind. Does that sound
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And it's a mindset, really. What it is I'm engaging in a process of organization, of defining my purpose behind my money, getting really intentional with my goals, understanding my values. Like, this is a process, and that process should start immediately. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're hiring an advisor right out of school, maybe not, but the mindset around kind of the old classic cliche Stephen Covey, start with the end in mind. Like, you should be thinking about, at least directionally, what you want your career and life to look like, and the role money plays in that
Mhm.
from the very beginning. That should be start from the second your career starts, and probably even before.
That makes a lot of sense. That was almost leading me to ask you about some of those big mistakes that I mentioned in the intro, but I wanna hit pause on that because if we shift over to wealth management, I feel like a few of these things might come out.
Yeah.
So, understanding that if I'm a dentist and my practice is or practices, we tend to work with groups.
Yeah.
We don't really work with solos as much. So, if I think about a small group, maybe I've got 3 to 5 practices, that's my number one wealth generating asset.
Always.
What
Yes.
Tell me what I'm doing. How would you if I walked in and I had 3 to 5 locations,
Yep.
like, tell me about your approach. What do I need to be thinking about? I feel like the mistakes are gonna come later in this conversation and maybe as a result of my question.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so the first thing I'm asking, or we're sitting down to talk about, is understanding what is the overall so someone who has 3 to 5 locations has gone beyond the idea of what a solo doc is, like, kind of a quote unquote lifestyle practice. Like, I'm gonna guess in general that person's more intentional with their business.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna guess, and probably has more of a mindset of a CEO. So that kind of probably, again, maybe I'm making an assumption, but I think it's a pretty safe one. But the second that I talk to that person, I'm sitting them down, again, assuming they're engaging us, and saying, let's have a really deep conversation around where do we go from here? What's the exit look like? I want to start thinking. I'm not saying you're going to sell tomorrow. You might be selling in 20 years,
No, but you
but if
have
we,
to eventually.
you have to eventually, and I want to understand what that looks like and kind of work backwards from there. I want to get really, really clear on that doc's intention, purpose, the why behind their money, and what is this all for? Because otherwise, what we see all the time, if we can't get really clear on that, what we call a purpose statement and that why, it leads to, and again, as you mentioned, this is going to lead to the next part of talking about mistakes. I think one of the top mistakes the dentists make, or I should say the reason mistakes are made, is distraction, is not being clear on what the purpose of all this is for. It's kind of this idea of like growth for growth's sake. You're just growing because you have no, and you don't even know. You're just like, I don't know, I want to add another location because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's the next step.
Yeah, which is not
Maybe
always the best
not always the
step.
best thing. Yep.
Optimize, then grow, right? And
Yep.
sometimes I can see how that, being an entrepreneur myself, how you get excited about things and you wanna move on and your focus can shift pretty easily, and I could see how that might muddy the waters on your plan.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't even tell you how many docs I've talked to in this stage you're referring to, Jamie, in this 3 to 5 location. Things are humming along, even they're doing well. Let's take it to the best case scenario. They've got a good handle on their business. They're super organized. Let's assume all that stuff is done. But I can't even tell you how many times I hear from those types of docs that will come to us kind of almost secretly, kind of behind closed doors, like,
Yeah.
is this all there is? Is this what it like, what's next?
Oh,
This
nobody
idea of like,
strives for that when they're dreaming of their career, like,
yeah,
being unfulfilled.
being unfulfilled. And I think there's a lot of successful professionals, but obviously we work in dentistry, a
Mhm.
lot of successful docs out there that are on paper very successful and still thinking, well, what's next? They've achieved all their goals. They've achieved everything they thought they wanted. And
Yeah.
then they're sitting there being like, okay, well, now what? And
Yeah.
I think a lot of that comes down to getting really clear on what, again, your intention and purpose behind all of this.
Yeah. Well, and a couple of things there. First of all, our plan changes over time, as you and I both know, and everybody
Yes.
else that's listening here. Secondly, kudos to them for calling you and
Yeah.
understanding. Like Aiden Bradley, our fractional CEO executive, I just did a podcast last week on that gut check. Like, something's off. So whether that's with your finance or with your operations, engage the right professionals. So I'm glad they're calling you.
Yeah.
And third, the reason I call that out and the reason I mention the mistakes is not to embarrass anyone. We are all human. We all screw up. You did not graduate, nor did I or anyone else graduate with all the tools in our toolkit to run a successful business. That's why there are people like you and I to help support or whoever that you choose to trust, lean on, etc. Yeah, it's not to call anybody out, but it's just to help you identify the fact that we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
We all need support of some kind. You cannot do it alone. Don't try. It'll cost you money.
So true. And dentistry's lonely. We know this, right? Dentistry's
Yeah,
a lonely profession. Leadership's a lonely situation. It's lonely to be a leader. And I don't say that like, oh, boo hoo. I'm saying it is. Like anyone who's ever been in any level of leadership position, which all dentists are, you are the de facto CEO, whether you know it or not, you're the CEO of a business. And
absolutely.
so that alone is a lonely position to be in. You feel this separation from you and your team that wears on you. I know that first.
100%.
Yeah, I know that firsthand from my position. So it's okay to first acknowledge that, and then to your point, don't do it alone. Seek out the help that you need from what we'd call kind of a board of directors. We always
Mhm.
are encouraging our clients to, and we're trying to kind of assemble parts of that within our own personal team for our docs of at least filling some of those positions. But you should be seeking out a board of directors and that support that every dentist needs. Every single dentist needs that.
100%. And even to help people further identify, I have a lot of friends and acquaintances in the dental business at some of the highest levels, and those people have mentors. They have people that they go to regularly and purposefully because you need another perspective.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need a reality check too. So so there's that.
You need, yes, don't have be a yes person. Seek out people that can push against you and challenge
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Absolutely. Those people that are seeking that out, that are vulnerable enough to say, I need help and I don't have all the answers.
Sure.
Those are the people that are going to excel far greater than their peers compared to the ones that are like, I got this. I can white knuckle this myself. I don't need help. I can promise you the people seeking out help, being humble enough to seek out that help, are going to go much farther.
Sure. And their finances and their practices are going to reflect that type of
Absolutely.
support that they've gotten.
Yeah.
So, do you get docs coming to you where they're like, all right, I need to plan out my next 30 years. What does that look like? I want to A, start with the end in mind, like we talked about. But
Yep.
I don't know. What about focusing on the next 5 to 10 years? I mean, that's usually what we recommend for our clients
100%.
because we're going to shift gears. We're going to take the fork in the road. What's your experience there?
Yeah, I love that. Very traditional mindset of financial advising is the next 30 years. A traditional advisor is going to run what's called a Monte Carlo simulation and look at all these different variables. And if you're a 35, 40, even 45-year-old doc, it's going to mean absolutely nothing. I mean,
Mhm.
you said it earlier, Jamie, your plans are going to change. Just think about where your life was 5 years ago compared to where you are now and all the things that have happened. And there's no way anyone out there listening can say their life has come to fruition exactly how they'd planned it out. So I think the further out you go, the more I'd say that's just a directional. It's just directional. The goals can be directional. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying this is kind of what I'm shooting for. This is kind of what I want my retirement to look like. And a lot of that information comes from experience of things you observed. So like you probably saw your parents or your grandparents and how they experienced retirement. And so you're kind of painting that picture for yourself of what you want your retirement to look like. But that's just directional. I love what you're saying, and what we try to encourage our clients to do is, let's think when it comes to the details and actually action to be taken, it's all based on what we're thinking about in the short term. And said 5 to 10 years. I think that's great. I would even work backwards from there. I'd say we try to talk to our clients pretty frequently, at least 3 times a year. Say, what are we doing in the next 90 days? What are we working on?
Yeah, great point.
What actions can we take in the next 90 to 180 days to start moving towards whatever we're working towards? What fire are we trying to put out? What thing are we trying to fix in our business? What progress are we trying to make? And then at the end of the year, let's review. Let's review where we're at and then set our goals for the next year. That's where progress is actually made, as opposed to saying, no one out there who I ask, give me a detailed breakdown of your retirement, what it looks like. No one's going to know.
No, no
They might
clue.
give you an answer, but they have no clue. They don't know what that looks like. So
Change your mind on whatever you're doing in 2 years, and maybe we're a solo practice, and then suddenly you're like, "What? Why not? Why not build my own group?" But there's huge
exactly.
opportunity there.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So we try to get, again, let's think about long term, sure, directionally. Let's think about what that looks like. Absolutely. And then let's move on and actually put the work in around the next 90 days, the next 6 months, the next year. What are we working on right now? One thing that I encourage all dentists to think about in their business is having some level of operating system in their business. And this
Mhm.
is something that you guys would implement far greater than us. But from personal experience at Dentist Advisors, we operate what's called EOS, the Traction. I don't know if you've ever heard of Traction, Gino Wickman, incredible book. But that mindset should be to us applied to not only your business, but also your personal life. Again, taking
Agree.
rocks, taking mini goals. What are we working on in the next 90 days? That is where, again, that's really our attention span anyway. Like
Good
right,
point.
as far as to focus on something. So that's what we're trying to get our clients to work on the practical side of financial planning. Once we've done the work on the purpose side and uncovering the values and all that, and trying to align your capital with those things. But then at the actual practical, what are we getting done? It's always in these kind of small, incremental, attainable steps.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Really good point, Matt. Thank you. All right, can we get to a couple of those mistakes just so our listeners can identify, like, "Oh gosh, maybe that's me," or
Sure.
"Whew, maybe
Yeah.
it's not."
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah. So the first thing I would say, I mentioned distraction earlier. I can get back to that of what I mean by that. But I would say core fundamental, like unsexy truth of this is most money mistakes in practicality come from one thing, which is lack of organization. So I'd say the ultimate mistake the dentists make is not having a grasp of their numbers, both on the business side and on the personal side.
I can see that.
It's how do you even define, like, the whole idea or the whole saying of a problem defined as a problem half solved. Well, you can't even get to defining problems until you even know what the problems are. And you don't know what the
Right.
problems are until you're organized.
Right, and if you're not organized, you're simply sticking your head in the sand. It's my favorite ostrich approach, so that's
Yep.
what I call it, and I avoid it at all costs.
Yep.
But yeah, that can really, well, it'll cost you a ton of money.
Tons of money that you don't even know is it's costing you. And
Exactly.
I love that you just said that, Jamie, because what we've actually found and studies support this, that the whole saying ignorance is bliss, right? And in some cases of our
Oh,
life, I think,
not.
yeah, well, I think in some cases in our life, you could argue that that is true. What
Mhm.
we have found in our work and studies support this, that when it comes, that's actually not true in a lot of cases. And it's certainly not true when it comes to money. So I think one of the things that holds dentists back from getting organized is the same reason why someone doesn't want to step on the scale after 6 months of maybe letting their health go, is that they're afraid of the result. They're afraid of what they're going to
Mm.
see. But what we've actually found time and time and time again, when a client comes on board with us, we spend a lot of time on the front end just getting them organized. We really force that. That's the first thing. It's like, hey, you're hiring us. The first thing you're hiring us for is to get you organized because you haven't been doing this on your own. We're gonna do it. And almost every time, what we find is at the end of the process of the onboarding process, let's say it's usually about 60 days. The end of that process, we show them the scale. We say, here's where you're at. Here's your net worth. Here's your cash flow. Here's everything. Almost every time, they're like, they take, oh, like I'm doing okay. I'm doing
Yeah.
better than I thought. And even if it is scarier than they thought, or even if it is bad on paper, quote unquote bad, and it is what they expected, they still almost always feel better because now they know. Now they're like, let's go. We know what to do.
Yes, and geez, Matt, there's little in this world that we can't find a solution for.
Yep.
So there has to be some relief there. But yeah, that
Yeah.
ignorance is expensive. It's very
Love that.
seldom blissful.
It's so true. It is very expensive. And
Yeah.
I love that you just said that very rarely do we have a can we not find a solution? Oftentimes the solution's right in front of our face. It's just taking action. It's just taking one step towards progress, but you can't do that until you know where you stand. So that's the first thing I'd say from a mistake perspective is just a lack of organization and dentists, to your point, sticking their heads in the sand.
And it is understandable to a point. You're, again, wearing a lot of hats. It's a busy business. You want to get out of there and spend time with your family. Sometimes we push things aside, and that's just the end result of it, but not too late to get support.
Never too late to get support. And by the way, even if you're doing this on your own, I'll give you two areas of your life right now. This is not secret. We don't keep secrets here. We're not some guardians of information and
Right.
advisors. That's not the role we play. Information's not a problem. There's a quote I'll paraphrase from I think Derek Sivers. He says, "If information was the problem, we'd all be billionaires with six packs." It's not information that we're hiding or that is the worry here. It's taking action on that information. But if you are out there and you're thinking, okay, I'm disorganized, I haven't looked at anything for a while. What's two things that I can be thinking about on the personal side? There's two areas of your life that you should be really organized around. Number one is your net worth. You should just be tracking your net worth. And this doesn't have to be anything super complex. Spreadsheet, piece of paper, doesn't matter. But you should be on a regular basis tracking your net worth. Everything you own minus everything you owe is your net worth on paper. And you start tracking some broad categories, right? On the asset side, your cash, your retirement accounts, your real estate, or the debt side. Break out your debts. There's only a few different categories and just break those out and track your balances. And you start to see that progress over time. It's going to do two things. Number one, you're going to dentists oftentimes type A, super successful, obviously really like goal oriented people. But one
Mhm.
of the problems is they keep raising the bar without stopping to notice where how far they've come. And
Ah,
again, it's because they're busy. They're just grinding. What happens is though, a lot of times, practically, as I was saying earlier, dentists are left achieving every goal that they could have ever imagined and still feeling empty. I think practically one of the reasons that happens a lot is they're not even tracking their progress. You have no mechanism in place of your life looking back saying, holy cow, look what I've done. I'm tracking this. Look at over the last 5 years, I came from a net negative net worth to now a multimillionaire. We've seen this time and time again, but you've got to track that. The other thing that does, Jamie, is it actually builds momentum. You start to see oh my gosh, look how much debt I've paid off just by making my minimum payments. I paid off 6 figures of debt, and you start to build momentum, and it can actually grow on itself. Compounding is not reserved just for investments. So tracking your net worth is huge. The other area of your life is your spending. If they haven't shut it off before, Jamie, the podcast, they've shut it off now when I bring up spending. But tracking your spending is so big. And I'm not talking a budget. I'm not saying you have to know every single part of this money went here, there, envelope strategy, Dave Ramsey style, but you got to be tracking your spending. Everything comes down when it comes to retirement readiness or financial independence is built off what lifestyle are you accustomed to. And the
Mhm.
only way you know that is by tracking your spending. So if you're doing anything out there right now, if you're not doing anything, you don't need us for this. Track your net worth and track your spending. And if you start doing that today and you do it on a regular basis, 2 to 4 times a year, you are already ahead of a ton of people, and it's going to change your life on the money side for sure.
I was gonna ask you how often people should do that. I know I kinda sit down and do it maybe every couple of months, I would say quarterly at least, but all these little expenses creep in,
Yeah.
and not things are that I'm really deriving value from. So if you've got somebody that's helping you with your practice or whatever it is, but it's increasing the value of your practice or if it's increasing your net worth, yes, by all means, evaluate, put a keep column and then let's see how this one goes. Because some of them are just little nickel and dime things that we don't pay attention to, but those things add up over time. And to me, that's money left on the table.
Could not agree more. And to your question, you're right. I would agree. Net worth probably every quarter would be a good way to go. Spending, I think it depends. I think there needs to be some arbitrage done. So,
Yeah.
meaning if you are regularly saving and investing on a regular basis, and to us, it would be 15 to 20% of your gross income is going towards your future self in some capacity. And to your point, you know that your net worth is growing and you're tracking that on a quarterly basis. If that's you, your spending tracking could be pretty infrequent. Like, I still think it's a good check-in, probably twice a year to check in, just see where you're at. I love what you just said, Jamie. The mindless spending is what we're trying to eliminate.
Yes.
It's that spending at the end of the quarter. We all have it. We all have it, including me. We all have it at the end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the year. It's like, what the heck? I didn't even remember. I don't remember
Yeah,
buying
where
that
did it
thing.
go?
Where did it go? That's what we're trying to eliminate. There's so many times that we actually, maybe counterintuitively, are actually part of our planning discussions with our clients is encouraging them to spend more money. That really is, but spend with intention. Go take that trip. Go. And this is what I was saying earlier, getting really clear on the purpose of the money. What is it actually serving you in your life? Money is just a tool. Are you using that tool effectively? And the mindless spending is what we're trying to eliminate, to your point. So if you're saving and investing on a regular basis, you have a really solid system for that. The rest of your spend, and you have a really clear excess cash flow that's going to your future. Again, once or twice a year, check in with your spouse or partner. I think that's really helpful. If you find yourself behind the eight ball, kind of living, and I've seen this, even 7-figure plus earners living paycheck to paycheck, I've seen this multiple times.
Oh, wow.
If you're having trouble with that and you're
Mm.
like, where's my money going? I don't even know. And you have no system in place, that might be a monthly thing for a while. That might
Yeah,
be we're checking in. It could be every 2 weeks until you start figuring out how to get a control of your money. So it just depends on where you're at.
sure. And jumping back to something that you said about spending money on trips and things like that. When we talk about things that bring you value, we're not always talking about optimization of your business. While that's critical, of course, because that feeds into everything else, family trips have value. There are plenty of other things that are subjective that you can place value on. It's not just, am I spending thousands of dollars on something that doesn't help me or serve me? Now, that's something to take a look at. But, it's
Yeah.
different definitions of value and it's all very subjective. So I'm glad you brought
I,
that up.
I mean, I love you said that, Jamie, because the point of making money is to spend it at some point, right? That's the whole point of this. Whether it's
Right. Why,
now,
why are we going to work?
why are we going to work if it's not to use our money for
Yeah.
something? And so I think people sometimes, like, that sounds trite and maybe yeah, of course, like
It's
maybe
true, though.
obvious, but it's a good reminder. Like, the point of this is to spend your money. That is the point.
Yeah.
And now that might be spent by your children if your whole only goal is to acquire as much wealth as possible to give to your children. I think that's probably a bit misguided, but if that's the case, great, but it's going to be spent by them. So the whole point of this is money its end role is to be spent. That is the end role. So doing that
Very
with
good point.
intention is critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right, we covered the mistakes. We covered a lot of territory about money. Thanks for everybody for sticking with us. I know we went off on a couple tangents, but it's critical stuff. It's things that in the periphery make sense to all this. But there's one more thing I wanted to spend a minute talking about, and it's the fact that a couple of our team members just attended your annual event called the Dentist Money Summit. And I don't know what you have planned for next year on this, but can you tell our listeners a little bit about that if they haven't been to it? I'd love for them to know and to maybe think about it for next year when you have dates. If you don't have them yet, we can share them out later.
Yeah, no, so I appreciate the opportunity. So, yeah, so we just completed our second annual summit. This has been a dream kind of years in the making. Literally since I came to Dentist Advisors, we had kicked around the idea of doing some type of event internally. We go to a ton of events, we speak a lot of different places, and we've always wanted to do our own thing. And then a couple of years ago, we finally had the team in place. We have some incredible team members here that really kind of finally allowed us to make that dream a reality of saying, okay, now we have the resources to pull this off. We have not, and probably never will, perfect this, but our intention behind our summit is a lot of what I've been talking about already today, which is how do we, like, we're not trying to compete truly. We're not trying to compete with all the incredible events that are out there when it comes to like getting deeper clinical knowledge or even like optimizing your business more effectively and like kind of the nuts and bolts.
Hmm.
We're not, I mean, we do have that for sure. We have aspects of that. We do lunch and learns for the 2 days that we're doing, but really what we're trying to accomplish is do something a little bit different. And kind of every single summit of ours has a theme. So in year one, it was live your rich life. This last year was planned for the present. We have our one coming out for next year. We do already have the dates planned. I believe it's June 11th through the 13th.
Okay.
I will confirm that, but I'm pretty sure that is at June 11th through the 13th in Midway, Utah. And the theme for this year, for 2026, is practice on your terms. And our goal, and we've accomplished this again, not to perfection, but we trying to get better every year. Our goal is to bring in not only people in the dental space for sure, but also people outside the dental space that can bring different angles. So our keynote speaker this year was Dr. Aditi Nurukar. She's an MD, Harvard educated doctor and burnout specialist. And she gave an incredible speech and shared a lot of knowledge around burnout and the science of burnout. And so we're trying to bring in different people from different walks of life to ultimately help dentists uncover, again, more of the intention, the purpose, the why behind their money. We're trying to kind of make it be kind of a somewhat of a vacation, kind of a, kind of a get away from the grind and come enjoy
Yeah.
yourself and hopefully learn. You'll still get some CE, but we're trying to change it up a little bit for dentists.
Well, I think that's valuable too. If you can make a little weekend or getaway from it, people appreciate that, and especially when it's somewhere beautiful like
Yeah.
Utah. But nothing but good things came from my team members that
Oh,
attended.
it's great.
So I know it's a good value and it is something different. There are just so many conferences out there. And to be fair, there isn't a perfect one. They're all works in progress, especially those of us that put on smaller events and meetings and things like this that are meant to be really beneficial to our own audiences and then try to stretch that out a bit. It's always a work in progress. But
Always.
that said, extremely valuable information. Otherwise, we wouldn't be putting on it all. So kudos to you.
Well, thank you.
It's a very, very good conference.
Yeah, really appreciate that. Again, would not have gotten done without our team. I wish I could say I was behind any of it. I basically just showed showed up, but our team is incredible. Yeah, it's
Well, good.
amazing.
You do have some great people on your team. Well, Matt, thanks for sharing your expertise and insights with our listeners. We really appreciate it. I know many of them would benefit from a conversation with you and your team. What is the best way to get in touch with you?
So, a couple of things I'd say if you're interested in more education, the foundation of our business is education. We've been doing a podcast ourselves for 10 years, coming up on 10 years now. So you can find that at the Dennis Money Show. Everything else on our website is all free education. We have a really robust education library at dentisadvisors.com. And then if you ever want to talk to us, if you're thinking, I'm disorganized or I need help or I just want to get some questions answered. We do this all the time. We talk to hundreds of dentists every year. Dentistadvisors.com. There's a book free consultation button right there. It's a yellow button right on the homepage. And you can talk to one of us really anytime.
Oh, great. Well, why don't I link to all that in our show notes so that people can find you easily and get in touch. And that way they can find the podcast, info on next year's summit, all like that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Perfect. Well, go ahead and reach out to Matt and his team for any questions and go ahead and book a consult with him. And then, as always, if you'd like to schedule some time to learn about any of our Polaris Expert Advisory services, or maybe there's a topic that we haven't covered that you really want to hear about, you can send us an email to info@polarishealthcarepartners.com, or you can reach us by visiting our website at polarishealthcarepartners.com. Thanks so much for being a loyal listener and subscriber. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share this with a colleague or friend and leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you on the next episode of the Group Practice Accelerator Podcast.